That laugh, that's the laugh of a crazy person. But I noticed that she's not using that laugh anymore. Somebody convinced her, don't laugh, just don't laugh. Don't laugh under any circumstances because
I like laughter, but sometimes.
Not her laughter.
Those Americans who have an opinion of the vice president think that, number one, she's a bit of a ding-dong.
You're okay with this approach of talking about her laugh and nasty and disrespectful and all this stuff that Donald Trump has said. You don't think part of that is going to kill you at the polls?
She's not a serious person. They've had one vegetable in chief. They don't want another. And they also think that she is a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party.
You know, I just wanted, before we move on to the next thing, this really tells me how out of touch they are, because you're talking about a woman of color. Do you think anything that you could come up with she hasn't heard before? This isn't new.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Leftist Losers Show, where we point out all of the losers of the left. And I once again have another clip from The View for you guys of them just frustrated. The View hosts are finally getting frustrated. The honeymoon phase for Kamala Harris is starting to wear off, and the social media sphere is just piling everything they can on top of Kamala Harris because she's got a lot of dirt against her. Not necessarily scandals, but she is not a likable person. People do not like Kamala Harris for a lot of the same reasons they didn't like Hillary Clinton. She's got an evil, maniacal cackle that she inserts at the most random times. Like, they'll be talking about really serious, awful things, and she'll just start cackling like a crazy person. And they're trying to spin that as just sexism. You don't like her because she's a woman and she's laughing. No, the reality is her personality is abrasive and she comes off insincere. And if you look at her track history and her record, it definitely seems like she was installed for all of the wrong reasons and that she basically slipped her way into politics. Like, that's not even contested. That's just known. And then you go look at the stuff that Tulsi Gabbard absolutely destroyed her with back during the Democratic primaries in 2020. And it's no wonder that people don't like Kamala Harris. Like, she's not a likable candidate. She never was. All of the stuff that we saw last week is just fake hype that the media is trying to generate to just get the regular people to march in lockstep behind the Democratic machine. And we will see if it works or not. But the reality is that it's not looking good for her on social media, and she's getting buried. And so here we go again, as always. They're going to go and say that everybody who criticizes Kamala Harris is a racist, sexist person who just doesn't like brown women, right? I bet we see that. I bet that's all they're going to say this entire show, is that we don't like her because she's a brown woman, right? So let's go ahead and jump right in this clip and let's just see why they're melting down and if that's in fact what they end up doing.
As the Harris campaign gets off the ground, it continues to surge. The Republican rival and his supporters are trying to find a line of attack that will stick. And so they tried some material out on Fox News yesterday. Take a look.
She got rid of the laugh. I noticed I haven't seen that crazy laugh that she got. She's crazy. That laugh, that's the laugh of a crazy person. But I noticed that she's not using that laugh anymore. Somebody convinced her, don't laugh, just don't laugh. Don't laugh under any circumstances because
I like laughter, but sometimes.
Not her laughter.
Those Americans who have an opinion of the vice president think that, number one, she's a bit of a ding-dong.
You're okay with this approach of talking about her laugh and nasty and disrespectful and all this stuff that Donald Trump has said. You don't think part of that is going to kill you at the polls?
She's not a serious person. They've had one vegetable in chief. They don't want another. And they also think that she is a member of the loon wing of the Democratic Party.
You know, I just wanted, before we move on to the next thing, this really tells me how out of touch they are, because you're talking about a woman of color. Do you think
here we go.
Anything that you could come up with she hasn't heard before? This isn't new. People saying you only got the job because you're a person of color. You got this because you're a person. You all have to get more creative.
No, they don't. If you look at what happened in the Democratic primary, she was crushed so utterly and so completely that she was one of the first people to drop out of the race. She didn't even make it to the primaries because the polling was so bad for her that there was no point. There was absolutely no point. And Joe Biden even admitted, and he was caught on tape, saying that he was not going to pick anybody unless they were a brown woman. And who was the brown woman that dropped out and didn't have any leverage against Joe Biden because polling was terrible? Oh, yeah, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was 1,000% a DEI hire for Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's campaign knew if they wanted to get some of the younger people and some of the racially motivated people, because the Democrats are extremely racist and care very deeply about race. If they wanted to get those people on the Biden train, they had to find a DEI hire to support that. And so that was Kamala Harris, because again, she's so terrible at her job. She's so awful in general and so unlikable that she didn't have any leverage against Joe Biden's campaign or cabinet. There was nothing she could do or argue to get anything that she wanted done. So she was the perfect pick. She gets Joe Biden the DEI shield that he was looking for to stop criticism from anyone who didn't like him for being an old white guy. And at the same time, she can't push against him for anything because he just handed her the VP on a silver platter when she definitely did not deserve it, right? Tulsi Gabbard would have been a fantastic, woman of color, considering she's not a white woman. But they didn't like her, and she utterly destroyed Kamala Harris. And so, no, there doesn't need to be any new attacks. These attacks that they're criticizing right now, while yes, are lowbrow attacks, and I'm not a fan of them, they did help in taking down Hillary Clinton. People did not like Hillary Clinton because her laugh was very similar to Kamala's, and it was very abrasive, unlikable. It didn't come off as authentic. It came off as just weird and almost like an evil cartoon villain. And again, I know that's lowbrow, but it does work on people. The same way that The View spreading their garbage messages and lies works on regular people on the Democratic side, sometimes this lowbrow attack stuff does work to get Republicans motivated as well.
Right. You do. You have to raise the bar if you're going to do this kind of thing. And keep in mind that you all...
Again, that's really ironic coming from The View.
...are living your best caricatures. You're being exactly the people we think you are. So... just know you're going to have to be more creative. Would you say that, Joy?
I would say that.
As a stand-up?
I would say that.
I think it's going to just get worse. I
Yes.
think that the bar is already low, and we've heard the attacks. She didn't earn it.
Yeah.
She's a DEI candidate.
Yeah.
Some people
She's
are calling her
crazy.
crazy. They're calling her dumb.
Don't they do that to women all the time?
All the time, and especially, unfortunately, women of color. But, I think the problem is that the GOP needs to convince voters that Trump and Vance
and themselves
are regular guys, and they're not. They are weird, just like they've been called.
Well, Democrats seem to have landed on this.
What's funny is that I've seen this spreading around Twitter as well, X. Yeah, they're weird. Who gives a shit if they're weird? A lot of people are weird. Who fucking cares? They're regular people. We don't want the stodgy, suit-wearing, pampered, slicked-back hair car salesman like freaking Gavin Newsom. Nobody wants that anymore. They want somebody who's authentic. That's why they like Trump. They like Trump because he showed up and started cussing people out and calling them names, and we all wish we had the chance to do that, and so we loved it. Everyone loved it. That's why Trump was the manifestation of throwing a Molotov cocktail into the system and sticking it to the man, essentially, because he is authentic. He is Trump. He is his real self, not these fake people they put in front of us. And Kamala Harris is 100% a DEI hire. Her record shows that. She couldn't even handle the border, and that was like her only job. She can't even go up and talk to other countries and then give speeches afterwards and use the correct country's name right after talking to them. Like, she went over there and was talking to South Korea, and then in her interview, little speech thing she did, she starts rambling on about North Korea, saying she had such a great time with oh man, this lady is terrible. But you know what? At least if they pull this off and they get Kamala Harris into office by cheating or by just convincing enough stupid people to vote for her or whatever, she's going to be the ultimate representation of a DEI hire. And when she ultimately fails, because she will, because she's terrible at her job and has been terrible as the vice president, even though the vice president's job should be pretty simple, right? Okay, go ahead. You know what? If we can't get a legitimate person like Trump in there to actually try and just nudge us in the right direction, fine. Guys can have your ultimate DEI hire, Kamala Harris, and then when she burns the country to the ground, we can all point and say, see, look how terrible that was. Let's not ever do that again, right? Let's never do that again.
This word that they think sums up the Republican ticket. Take a look.
It's not just a weird style that he brings. It's that this leads to weird.
I like how right after calling Trump and Vance weird, they put butt gig up there, right? The guy who has pictures of him using fake breasts to breastfeed his kid. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. That's weird. All right, that is weird.
Weird policies.
On the other side, they're just weird.
No matter what kind of weird stuff they keep saying.
It's a weird thing he does.
These guys are just weird. That's who they are.
I like how we point out how terrible her record is and the fact that she has nothing positive to say about any of the stuff she's done while in positions of power. And their response is, well, you guys are just weird. Like, y'all are just fucking weird. Like, weirdos, bunch of weird. Sorry, excuse my language, by the way. You're just all super weird.
We're not afraid of weird people.
No.
we're a little bit
So you can tell this is a talking point that was sent out to all their spokespeople because they're all saying it.
creeped out, but we're not afraid.
So, I mean, really, the question is, what on God's green earth makes them think that taunting people and women in particular, what makes them think this is going to work for them?
Well, first of all, so before we get to the weird part, I want to talk a little bit about the laughter and his Donald Trump's obsession with the laughter.
Yeah.
There was an article in The Atlantic where it said, this comes from Trump's upbringing. His dad, who was, we're going to have his brother on later. His nephew on later. I'm getting this right. So they've read, there's been books at length about what the family was like growing up. And the Donald Trump's dad was the beginning of all of this. Look at Donald Trump, and then you can imagine his dad. So he used to say, his father drilled into him, laughing is to make yourself vulnerable. It's to let down your guard in some way. So Donald Trump thinks laughter is weakness, which is why if you look around, you'll never have seen him laugh.
Have you ever seen him laugh?
I thought
The reality is they're trying to get ahead of this narrative because they know that Hillary Clinton's maniacal cackling that she would always do was very hurtful and very much impacted people's desire to vote for her and how much people liked Hillary Clinton. And they know that's going to hurt Kamala Harris. That's why she's not laughing. Trump's not wrong. If you watch a lot of the more like recent interviews and speeches she's given in the last couple of days, she really is toning down the laughter. And I gotta give it to whoever told her that is smart, because people don't like the maniacal cackling that she does. And that's a big criticism for her. And they're trying to spin it in such a way that it's just Trump being this crazy guy that's complaining. But the reality is there's truth to that. They know that. They know it hurt Hillary Clinton, and that's why they're really, really trying to get ahead of it at this point.
About this, I've never seen him laugh. He does a smile and he just pauses. I've never seen him laugh.
That's why he would also take
smile.
a joke like at the White House Correspondents' Dinner to a point of running for a presidency, because that humor is too vulnerable for him. Now, getting to the weird thing that they've really turned on the right, the Harris campaign has really kind of taken that weird. Yeah. Think about it. People on the right say a lot of weird things. When you think of like monitoring girls' periods, that's weird.
That's weird.
Banning books, coming for drag shows, and
the right talks about monitoring periods because they're talking about birth control method. These people are so stupid, man. Okay, yeah, the right brings that up because they're talking about people's alternatives to abortion, right? How about instead of killing a baby, you just track your period, so then you don't, you try not to have sex on the day that it might get you pregnant. Maybe if you pay attention to your cycle, you're less likely to get pregnant. That's an alternative form of birth control. These people are clowns, man.
by the way, if your kid's gay, they're already gay. Like, no one's turning them anything. So let them view whatever they want, But also...
Yeah, no, they're already gay, so let them just look at whatever porn or whatever garbage, degenerate crap we put out there, because you shouldn't be able to, dictate the upbringing or environment that your kids have. We should determine that. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Wrapping up the weird, Trump is kind of the weirdest of them all. Like, commenting on his daughter's looks and her sexual
is weird.
Is weird. Having 24-karat gold apartment and your name in gold, and
There's
it's
something
weird.
wrong with that.
And burying your ex-wife on your golf course.
It's very weird.
It's weird.
It's a very weird
So that's
thing.
why that is effective. Is there's so much weird on the other side that pretty much sums it up.
Well, that doesn't mean that the left has to use it. I don't agree.
Okay, did anyone actually hear anything of substance in any of that? Like, did they make any valid points? I got confused here. All I heard was that they're weird, and then it sums it up. They're just weird. We can't vote for them. They're so freaking weird. People are so stupid.
I agree with that. I don't think you should use the word weird. Call him what he is, a convicted felon.
Yeah, that's better. I agree.
Yeah, no, you know what, Joy? Please do. Please keep reminding everybody that the Democratic Party tried to use the justice system to take him down and literally change the laws just so they could go after him, because all of the stuff they went after him for actually were outside of the statute of limitations because they were over 20 years ago. Wow. So he was convicted for a crime that never would have been charged to anyone else in the planet. But because it's Donald Trump, we change the rules and we make it happen, right? So yeah, no, please, Joy, please. His polling numbers boosted after that happened. Please, stop calling him weird. Remind everybody about the convicted felon thing and boost his numbers. Do it. Do it for us, Joy. We would really appreciate it.
Both, because
It opens the door for the other side to say, well, you think we're weird, look at you. It's too much weird.
What they're saying,
name
they've
calling.
already said those things.
Take the high road, get off the weird
But
thing,
I don't
just call him what he is.
I don't like name calling. You're not going to see me do it unless I slip up and I'll own it. But weird, I don't see as below the belt. I don't either. I think what they're saying is this is not your grandfather's Republican Party. This is one that is going outside of the mainstream much further. The policies and the position.
They think that's an attack, right? Which is hilarious. There's a reason why people have so much support for Donald Trump and hate the Mitch McConnell types. Because the grandparents' Republican Party, the one that they demonized as war hawks and racists, yeah, no, we don't want that anymore, right? The modern conservative movement, libertarian movement, we do not want the war hawks back. These people want the war hawks back. They hate that the Republican Party went through a civil war, essentially, and that the MAGA movement came out on top, because the MAGA movement's a populist movement for the people. These people want the Democrats to stay in power because the Democrats are the only party that is owned by the establishment. They want war, and they want the machine to keep marching forward, dominating the world with endless wars, so that way we can continue staying on top with the petrodollar, which, by the way, no longer exists because Saudi Arabia did not re-sign the deal to use dollars as their form of trading oil, which means it's already dead. The petrodollars are already dead. We are on track now for global conflict if the machine stays in power. If Donald Trump does not win in November and does not become president, we are going to see war like we've never seen it before, because these people need war to continue on the machine. They need it. The military-industrial complex is in total control when the establishment's in control. And that's who's Donald Trump's really fighting against, right? He's fighting against all these lobbyists and all these companies that use conflict as a way to make money and prop up our economy. That's why they don't care if manufacturing gets shipped overseas. And that's why they fight tooth and nail to keep doing this, because they know now that we don't make anything in the United States, the only reason our economy does so well is because we sell war and we push the dollar onto countries. And whenever those countries say, we don't want to use the dollar anymore, all of a sudden they're in conflict all over the place. And these people on The View are the ones that keep the message going and the narrative going. So regular people who aren't paying attention, go watch the Super Bowl, go listen to Taylor Swift tell them to vote for Joe Biden, see The View spouting off random garbage and calling people weird, and then they go, I guess I got to vote for the machine. And they keep doing it. These people are ridiculous. They're silly. They're not serious people, as the man said about Kamala Harris. She's not a serious person. She's a puppet, just like Joe Biden. And the machine is desperately hoping that her being a brown woman is somehow going to convince enough regular people to vote for her, so that way the machine can stay in power and probably drag us into war with Iran, which is now going crazy right now. Anyways, that's what I had for you guys. I just wanted to show you guys the newest attack from The View and how pathetic and desperate it is, honestly. Like, they're out of... They once again have nothing substantive to go after Trump for. They're sadly latching on to the fact that he's poking at Kamala Harris. And honestly, I think Trump should just stay on the defensive. I know being a reactionary usually doesn't work for the Republican Party, but I think what he did to Joe Biden in the debate, where he just let Joe Biden basically hang himself by just not saying anything, letting him just speak and gaffe, I think he could do the same thing to Kamala Harris. I think if he goes into a debate with her and just lets her run her mouth, she will look like an idiot. She will make herself look terrible. And it will give Donald Trump the opportunity to look like a presidential candidate that these people... That's the only thing they can criticize him for, is being like, he's attacking a woman. Well, if he doesn't give them the ammunition, he'll win easily. Anyways, folks, that's what I had for you guys. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe, or comment down below what you think, or tear me apart in the comments. Either way, I appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.